Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for September 27th, 2020. So, this was a long week. Again, last week was very weird because I was off most of the time because of the smoke air quality. So, I had to work all this week, which felt really weird, but you know, it was typical, but it was just a normal week. Other than that, it just was really, really long. And I feel like I didn't read anywhere near as much as I thought I would. I think really it was just because I was tired when I got home from work. So nothing beyond that. So nothing weird or anything happened this week. I'm enjoying my new car, but you know, again, I had to go fuel it up today for the first time. And of course, that was an experience to get it to the thing to open up. It was... because I knew where it was, but I didn't know how the button pulled. You know, anyway, new car, you know. Anyway, so I'm still learning stuff on that. So really, nothing's going on. I did put up a few videos in the last week about Victober. I'm really, really excited about Victober, so that's coming really close. I'm so excited. I have so much stuff on my TBR, and I want to read it all. But I have some books that I want to talk about that I finished this week, and then the ones that I want to... finish before Victober, and then what I'm going to pick first for when it crosses into October. So I'll let you know what that is. Anyway, so let's talk about the books I finished. I finished Fleet of Knives by Garth L. Powell. This is the second book in the Embers of War sci-fi series. I was reading this. I read the first book, Embers of War, earlier in the month for Space Opera September, put on by Thomas at SFF 180. And I didn't read as much sci-fi this month as I was hoping, but it's really cool. I got to read two in the same series. So I'm glad I did that because I was really glad I read the first book that I pushed it, because again, I borrowed it from the library at one point and I only read a few pages and I didn't connect right away to it, and I didn't have time to read it, so I gave it back. But I read a copy I bought later on, and then I got this from my library. And I really liked this second one. It didn't go, like, I knew from the end of the first one, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. And then this, like, took it up a notch of where it was at. So I really enjoy this series. It's not my favorite sci-fi series by any means, but this is really interesting. And I really can't wait to read the third book, which is coming from my library this week, called, I think, The Light of Impossible Stars, I think. Anyway, I really wanted to read it. I wanted it to come this week so I could read it before the end of September, but it might be one that goes, I'll have to read it in October. But that's fine. I want to finish this series out. I want to read at least a couple of series, finish them. So this follows Trouble Dog, who is a sentient ship that used to be in the military and then decommissioned herself after a war where she took part in a really horrific destruction of a planet. And so the first book, Embers of War, is when she works for the House of Reclamation, and what she's a rescue ship. So she gets called out to when ships out in space have issues. She and her small crew go to help them. Now she's a really big ship. She's a carnivore class, so she used to have all these weapons, but they mostly been taken. You know, she had them all taken off because of her decision to become a rescue ship. So they, in the first book, are called out to a rescue mission of a cruise liner ship, you know, in space. Anyway, and we see it from 5 POVs of people who are on the House of Reclamation, on Trouble Dog and her as they're going towards this, and then there are also a couple other people who are in other places, one on the cruise line. So this, of course, steps up from what happens in the first book, so I can't talk about what happens in here because it relates to what happened at the end of this one. But I really enjoyed this one. It went in ways I didn't expect, and again, I still don't know how this is going to play out in the third book, but I can't wait to get to it. So again, as I said, I'll probably read that pretty soon. I just find this it's not, how do I want to say it? It's not, again, it's not going to ever be my favorite series, and I might get rid of the first book I have, Embers of War, and again, I'm getting the next two from the library. So I don't think it's a series that I have to keep, but I do enjoy it, and I want to see how it turns out. But I have to say, so this is a little not safe for work, but this is like my favorite chapter ever, and it has just who's the speaker, and that's all that's all it says. Anyway, it's funny. Anyway, this is my favorite chapter ever. It's like the shortest chapter. It's great. Anyway, so, oh, hold on. So the next, I did finish my audiobook. I was listening to from the library, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is a reread for me. I read it in early June. Loved it. I read it on ebook, which I own, but I want a physical copy, so I haven't got that yet. But I wanted to try the audiobook, so I got it from my library. It took me all summer to get it. Finally listened to it. It was by Daniel Henning, and really well done. I really like the audiobook. I still love this book. This is like definitely one of my favorite books of the year. It is a really kind of sweet cinnamon roll kind of story about Linus, who is a 40-year-old who works for a department that looks after magical children in orphanages, and he is a caseworker, and so he went on this assignment which is very different from the normal, and he goes to meet 6 very unusual children and their headmaster, and the one in charge of the orphanage, and it's all his. Linus is one of my favorite characters this year. He's so relatable. Because again, he's middle-aged, but he's so sweet. I just love him. Anyway, so this is like, it's just a sweet book. I love this book. It's a little fantasy, a little real, it's like, it's kind of urban fantasy, but I don't know, it's a nice little twist. I really enjoy this, and I was glad to to listen to it on audio. I will probably buy the audiobook as well, because since I own the ebook, I can get the audiobook for like half price or something. So I'm probably going to do that now that I've tried it and listened to it. I'm like, I definitely want to listen to that again. So I did like that. So, and then the book I just finished this morning before I filmed this is The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. So I bought this last month. I've been in kind of wanting to do some more horror books. I haven't read a lot of horror in the last couple of years. I used to read a lot, like just here and there. And I just kind of got out of the habit. And so I read The Shining the week before. And this is one of the books I bought last week. I really wanted to try it because it sounded like a good one. So this, and I've seen other people on my Goodreads have read it. So this follows Mouse, who is like a 30-something who goes to... her grandmother passed away at 101, but she was in a home. But for a couple years, the house has remained dormant, like it was like in North Carolina. So she went down to take, because her dad is ill. So she goes down to decide what to do with the house. And turns out her grandmother was a hoarder before she went into the home. And she didn't know about it because she did not have a close relationship with her grandmother. Her grandmother sounds like... is not a very nice person. Anyway, so she goes to clean out the house and decide if they're going to try to sell it or what. And in the process of that, she and her dog, Bongo, which is a coonhound, I believe. And oh, I love Bongo. He's so cute. Anyway, she goes there and things start happening. So she finds her step-grandfather's journal. He had died like 20 years before that. And she's trying to figure out what he was like, what happened with him, and what happened from this journal, what he's writing about, because it's all kind of weird stuff, and it's very has like this folklore-ish. The best part about this book was the atmosphere of this small rural North Carolina town, and the way the property was, and how it, and again, we get kind of those senses from, because she had a dog that was very scent oriented and stuff, so they would go on walks and things, and so it was really spooky. Like, that part was all really good. But so I enjoyed this, but I did not like it or love it a lot. Like, this is like a solid 3. It was really well written. Don't get me wrong. It was really well written. I would definitely pick up more books by this author. I think I have The Clockwork Boys by her. Again, this is the pseudonym for Ursula Vernon. So I haven't read anything on that side either. So there's quite a few books I could pick up by this author. Again, I still want to pick up stuff. I'm just not sure this was the book for me. So again, most of the horror I grew up reading was much more, well, I'm not going to say it was all body horror, but it was definitely monsters and things like that. So there is that in here, which is why I was attracted to this one. Or you know, it's a kind of a folklore, kind of different take on some things. I think it's just the concept is so good. I just don't know if the execution was the way I liked it. I did like the end, or the way it went in the end. I liked things that happened in that. But the first half of this book was so slow, and there was not much happening. Now it builds up a lot, and I get that, but it was too slow. It was too long. This book is too long. Like, I think that was it. I think we could have cut out a lot of the stuff that I was like, well, you didn't really need that. And I don't know if it was to kind of base the story in reality and then to show the odd stuff. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not explaining this very well, but for some reason I was like, I didn't quite DNF it, but I did get to 120 pages, and I was like, why am I reading this book? And then I told myself that, okay, if I'm going to give it one more shot, and if I, you know, am bored out of my mind for much more longer, then I'm putting it down. But luckily right after that, something happened, and this also has my most hated, literary device of the main character is telling this story like from the present and then looking back and, you know, showing it. And they do that thing where if I had known, or if I had done this, if I had known that. I hate that. I hate that so much. Like, I cannot tell you how much I hate that intrusion into the story. Just tell the story. Don't give me your, hey, if I had known, it would have been different. I don't care. Clearly it would have been, and the story would have gone differently. I don't know. I hate that. And it's one of my most hated literary, devices, is things that plot-wise. I just hate it. Like, duh. Of course it would have been different if you'd known that or done that. Or, you know, I don't know. Sorry. I really like first-person narrative a lot, especially in urban fantasy and even some horror stuff that I read. It really does bother me when the characters do that and say, well, yeah, if I'd known, I wouldn't have done that, or this, everything would have been different. I'm like, yeah, of course it would have been. That there would have been no story either. So the point, I don't know. But I did that just, okay, that was my little rant on that. Like, I have to do one of those ones where it talks about like the things I hate most in books, and that would be like one of my top ones. Anyway, point is that I think this was really well done. I mean, I think it was good in the end. Like, I'm glad I finished it, and I'm glad I enjoyed it. I will not be keeping it. I will be getting rid of this. It's no point for me to, and I don't know if I'll pick up, there's a new one coming out by her, was it The Hollow Places? I don't know. It's another one, and it sounds, again, interesting. I'm just afraid it'll be slow like this one. I think this is a different kind of horror than what I was looking for. It's definitely more atmospheric. I think if you like a lot of gothic stuff, I think you'll like it. Just know it is slow and not a whole lot happens in the beginning, and it builds slowly, but I don't know if we needed a lot of that. Like, some of it, yes, like it worked out in the end and made sense, but some of it was like, I don't know why we went through all that. I don't know. So, it wasn't like what I expected, but I did pick up a book that I had bought this year and I read. But it just didn't work out as well for me as I was hoping, and that kind of sucks. So the books I'm in the middle of, hold on, my iPad goes the other way. I am listening to The Only Plane in the Sky, An Oral History of 9/11 by Garrett M. Graff. So this is has a cast, like a huge cast. This is like 45-person cast. So it's, and I think the narrator is Holter Graham. But there's so many voices and stuff, and this is such a hard book to read. So I'm only about 13-14% of the way in, so not very far. It's talking about 9/11, and it's going through the the day, you know, or that morning. And what's really good is I like it because it is the oral history part of it, and it really reminds me of Svetlana Alexievich and her oral history, except this is different again. This is going by time. So I can't think what other book I just read that did an oral history like that, where you'd come back to the same person a little later, like so it'd be at 8 something in the morning, and then later after one of the planes had hit, and what happened, what they thought then. And it has those continuing voices through. So far, it's so hard. It's so heartbreaking and so hard to listen to this on audio. But I have it from the library, so I'm trying to listen to this. So this is gonna, as I said, this will be probably the next week. I think I still have, well, must have over like 12 or I think it's like a 15-hour audiobook. So it's gonna take me this week. I think I have it into the middle of next week. So like I have a week and a half to read it. So I'm hoping to get through that by the time it's due, but it is hard to listen to sometimes. It was really hard. So I am working on that. And then I am going to continue Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. I did start this last week, and then so I picked up this one and the Twisted Ones, and I was trying to say, well, which one do I want to read? And I chose the Twisted Ones because I just got into the story faster. The problem is that this one had a chapter, again, it's Danny Torrance when he's older. So it first has a part where he's just, it's just a few years after The Shining. So again, this is the sequel to The Shining, which I just reread so that I could read this. I love the cat. Anyway, so, which I don't know if that's in the story yet. It's not, so I still like it though. Anyway, so I just reread The Shining, and I really enjoyed my reread of it. I'm glad I did that. It was much better than I remembered, kind of thing. So this, but again, I wanted to read this sequel. I've been wanting to. I just hadn't got around to it. So the first part was really good. I liked the first couple chapters, and then there was the third chapter, I think, is the one where I was like, oh no, because now he's in his, I think he's in his 30s, and it's just, his life is not what you want it to be. Like, it's just like, he just has not gone in the direction you want him to be, and you're like, oh, why would you do that after everything you've been through, kind of thing. But again, it just, it took me a while to get past that. So then it goes on to the next section, and it's him moving on and moving to this small town where so that he starts over again, kind of thing. And then but things are kind of different there because he keeps having, like, The Shining is back, and he's kind of dulled it for many years because he doesn't want to deal with it. But right now it's everything is kind of clicking off, and he's like, what's going on? So it's very early. I'm only 60-some pages in, 62 pages in. So it's not a whole lot has happened yet. So I'm going to focus on this for the next couple days. Hopefully I'll finish it by the 30th. We'll see. I'll be close. Because I think it's like it's 495 pages. So I have over 400 pages to read. So it's going to be close. It'll probably be most this week. But I do want to read this. And again, I got a couple horror books in this month, which was unusual for me. But I do want to read that. And then the first book for Victober, I'm going to pick up a small one just to start it off. And that's The Frozen Deep by Wilkie Collins. This is a novelization of a play that he and Charles Dickens put on. So I think it has to do with an Arctic adventure. And it's based off of an actual doomed mission to the Arctic. So, wow, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I bought this last year, meant to read it last year, didn't get to it. So it's not very long. As I said, just 101 pages, I guess. So, yeah, 101 pages. So it just says up in the corner, which I don't know why. Anyway, but I'm going to probably read that. And again, that'll be my first Victorian read. I don't know what year it, 1874. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so 1874. So anyway, I'm going to read that probably first. So that is it. That's everything that I've read or I'm in the middle of. My first Victober reads coming up. So we'll see what happens. As I said, I have a whole TBR up of what I want to read in October. I'm not sure how much that I'll get through. Well, I guess we'll find out. So anyway, if you guys read any of these books, did you guys read any good books this week? Did you read any horror stuff? I don't know what. I had a little horror moment here, which is kind of nice because I haven't read a whole lot. I almost went towards Gothic before I picked up the Twisted ones, but you know, and again, it didn't work out for me, but I still enjoyed the experience. It just still wasn't what I wanted. I don't know. It just didn't go quite enough, but we'll see. I'll probably pick up something else by that author still, so it's not going to give up. So anyway, that's it. Let me know what you're reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.